This is Wickham Sound.
Hello everyone, my name is Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. We are the weekly show that covers the local art scene. We share some local music. We have a different guest each week to chat creativity and stuff. We also have the Rye Zone, which is our weekly sort of short story or poem. It depends on what the mood is really. So there's that to look forward to, and we have a music review from Twangling Jack Ford later on in the show as well. As always, you can find us on Facebook by searching for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, and you can also email me here at the studio on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. And I particularly want to hear from poets, musicians, performers, anyone who's got MP3s I can share on the show, and also anyone who might make for a good guest. And local news and stuff, all of that stuff's good as well. This is actually the section now where we normally have arts and creativity news, but it's all a bit quiet at the moment, to be honest. We're running some online events at Wickham Arts Centre, which I'm very excited about. So for those events, we've had a writers workshop, which by the time this airs will have already happened. But we've got a sign workshop from Isolte Avila of Signdance Collective, who's also been a guest on the show. What else have we got? We've got some puppet making workshops from Victoria from Dreadfalls Theatre as well. She was also on the show. There's a theme here. And hopefully some more online events coming soon, as well as physical events once we can get back to hosting them, as I say, at Wickham Arts Centre. So if you just go to facebook.com/Wickham Arts Centre, you can find all the info there, or on wickhamartscentre.com as well. The other thing I want to mention is the last two episodes that went out, they accidentally went out back to front. This is entirely my fault. But because of that, basically Ruth's story, Ruth Perkins provided a story called Just Jean that went out back to front. So 2 episodes ago we did part 2. Last episode we did part 1, and we're going to be doing part 2 again today. And in fact, that is a really nice little segue, because the next part of the show is the Rye Zone, where we have an author showing some of their work. So this is Ruth Perkins with part 2 of Just Jean again, but this time you've heard them the right way round. You can also, by the way, catch up on all of our shows on Buzzsprout, on iTunes and Spotify as well. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us. So you can go back and listen to old shows there and listen to the part 1 of this if you haven't already. Over to you, Ruth.
Just Jean by Ruth Perkins. Part 2. Mr. Bird wandered past the phone. Slowly he noticed it was off the hook. Carefully he approached it, as if sneaking up on a tiger that one must get past to survive. To his dismay, he heard crying on the other end. He looked up and out through the door to the bakery. It must have been his daughter Susan who answered it. Surely this was her responsibility now. He could just leave it and nip back upstairs, he knew, but somehow he didn't want to leave her crying, even if it was just Jean. Bernie Bird tilted his head and drew as close to the phone as he could without actually touching it. The sobbing stopped, and Bernie heard the voice of a middle-aged woman say something about ringing back later. Then the phone went dead. Delicately, Bernie picked up the receiver in his fingertips and placed it back on top of the phone. Then young Mr. Bird, at the grand old age of 62, hobbled painfully back up the stairs. "Hello, Dad. Are you there?" The year is 2017. Jean is 72. She has trouble remembering things most days, but every now and then she still tries to make this call. This is the call that is never answered. "Dad, are you there? I just wanted to say I'm sorry for not phoning more often. I haven't written lately either." The old woman pauses, trying to clear her mind. "My hands hurt, and I can't hold a pen, so I'm sorry." Jenny, her daughter, comes into the room and notices her mother sat on the bed, cradling the phone in withered and spider-like hands. Sighing, she sits down next to her mother, waiting for her to finish the call. "I'm tired, Dad, and Jenny's here now. I'll call again later." Jean drops the phone clumsily into the waiting hands of her daughter and slumps forward, closing her eyes. Later she sleeps in the cosy chair in front of the electric fire in the sitting room. The fire is on and the room is terribly hot, but it is her favourite spot. A small girl is playing with a wooden train set, painted in garish pink, pushing the trains round the track and talking to herself all the while. Mum, who was Gran talking to on the phone? Jenny is sitting on the sofa, sewing a button onto her child's cardigan. She glances up, then across at her mum, checking she really is fast asleep. She glances at her husband, surfing the net on his phone. He doesn't look up. She was talking to her dad, sweetie. The little girl looks puzzled for a moment before continuing. Is he in heaven with Grandpa? Jenny pauses while she thinks of how to reply. Yes, dear, she says simply. But your Gran likes to talk to him every now and then. The man looks up, interested briefly. He died when she was a child, didn't he? Jenny looks panicked for a second, but glancing around quickly, she sees that her mother is still asleep, and her daughter has stopped listening. When she was 6, she replies quietly. That's right, states the man matter-of-factly. And she still thinks he's alive? She always has, says Jenny, and goes on with her sewing. It is 1953. An 8-year-old girl sits on a warm woolen picnic blanket. Her little 5-year-old sister is walking around the lawn spraying the flowers with a solid plastic bright orange ray gun water pistol. She is enjoying it immensely. The 8-year-old, Jean, is setting plates and cups and saucers out ready for a picnic. She has set out everything in 3s. A cup for me, a cup for Judy, and one for... Her mother comes over and sits down on the blanket. Is that one for me, love? Jean looks up and frowns. She looks back down at the plastic crockery. No, that one's for Daddy, she says. Her mother looks startled for a moment. Sorry, love, says Mum. That's all right, says Jean. I can put out another cup for you, Mum. She reaches into the hamper behind her and retrieves another set. 5-year-old Judy comes to sit down on the picnic blanket. The 3 sit for a moment and drink imaginary lemonade, each thinking their own thoughts. There you go, Daddy, Jean says, lifting the 4th cup so that her father can drink. Yes, I made it myself, Daddy. I'm glad you like it. Judy and I picked the lemons from our tree. Her mother looks up casually at the lemon tree that her husband planted when they moved in. Sickly green withered ellipses peek out from among the leaves. Yes, you can have a biscuit, Daddy, continues Jean. Takes a tin and pulls off the lid. It is empty. Jean offers it to the space behind the 4th cup and saucer. She waits for him to take one and then offers them round. Silently, they all eat the pretend biscuits. Frank Bird eyed his son critically. He began to think he would never be completely happy, leaving Bird's family bakers in Bernie's permanently sweaty hands. He made his son nervous. He knew that, but the shop was important to him. It had been opened by his great-grandfather, and he wanted to be sure it would be in safe hands when he absolutely had to retire. For now, he had no choice. He was sure the boy, as he still called his son in his head, despite his 33 years, would manage for the afternoon. He had somewhere very important to be. So Frank Bird fastened his coat and stepped out onto the street. He was only going round the corner, but he quickened his pace as he ran through his head the conversation he was going to have with Mary. He wanted to get it just right. He always got very flustered around her. Not that she ever seemed to mind. She hardly ever noticed. Despite this, Frank's heart leapt in his chest at the thought of her. He imagined her beautiful crystal blue eyes in her lovely smiling face. Not that she was always smiling. She'd had great sadness in her life. She had lost her husband in a car accident some years earlier, and there was the worry about her eldest. It had got worse recently, because the girl had been bullied at school. Now Frank headed towards the red door and knocked. It was quickly answered by an attractive lady with crystal blue eyes. She smiled in relief and invited him in. As he stepped through the door, she spoke hurriedly. Thanks for coming, Frank. I've put the kettle on. I need to ask you a favour. It's about Jean. The phone rang. A golden tinkling sound. Hi, Dad. It's Jean. I need to talk to you. It is 1958, and Jean is 13. This is the first phone call to her dad. Mum gave me this number. Why did you go without saying goodbye, Dad? I didn't even see you go. She pauses, struggling to express herself. Jean picks at the stitches in her eider-down. She straightens out her legs on the bed. Dr. White says it might help if I can just talk to you. He says you don't need to reply, but you can listen. I miss you, Dad. If you come back, I can make you some more lemonade. Jean thinks deeply about what else she wants to say. I'm enjoying school more now. I like English. My teacher's called Mrs. Baranski, and she's my favourite. Jean sighs. She bites her lip. Come back, Dad, she says.
Thank you very much, Ruth Perkins, for sharing just Jean. And again, sorry, Ruth, for playing them the wrong way round. It happens. There are so many moving parts to this show you wouldn't believe. So we're going to go on to some local music now, and this is Without My Addiction with Confined.
Twisted and confined years ago.
Just the flu. We hear people say it every year. But if you're pregnant, there's no just about it. Flu is a virus that can cause harm to you and to your baby. That's why we offer you the flu vaccine free. It's the very best protection for the both of you. Ask your pharmacist, GP or midwife about your free flu vaccine. NHS. We're here to help you protect against flu. Help us help you.
All your business questions answered. Throughout April, HW Bidco will be hosting a series of webinars for local businesses. Join our panel of legal, HR and finance experts who are giving away their advice for free to help businesses navigate the COVID-19 challenges ahead. The first webinar takes place on Wednesday the 8th of April at 3 p.m. For more information and to register, visit the website hwbidco.co.uk.
We followed government advice and set our team up to work remotely. We have taken all the steps we can to keep our team safe so we can be here for you.
That was Will We Talk by Dizzy Fish, and before that we had Confined by Without My Addiction. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain, and we've reached that part of the show where we have a weekly guest on, although this week's show is a little different because we're going to be doing a highlights show. So we're going to go back to some of the previous interviews we did and share some of those. So here is a chat with Scarlett Smythe. I think it's Scarlett Smythe. It's either Scarlett Smythe or Scarlett Smythe. I should have probably double checked that when I chatted to her. And she's a poet and various other things as well, so we caught up with Scarlett.
On land, we'd hike up the bank to a creaky gate, secret space, seasonal plants, bordering, lace. Forget-me-nots waving, greeting him home, something to love, living alone. A floral island, an insecure hedge carved as a cockerel, guards this land as if a gargoyle. Shadowing my gramp through his homemade porch, an archway revealing an entrance. You can smell the memories wrinkled with dust, fixtures once shiny, now invite rust.
So that was Scarlett Smythe, and this is Suzie Demarco, who is my other half, and we did a little interview in front of my green screen. It was a lot of fun. We make videos together on YouTube under Lord Literature and Madam Media as well, if you want to check those out. And yeah, over to Suzie. And so going back to your background in media, you made a few films when you were sort of teenager at college, right? Can you tell us about a few of those?
Alright, going way back, I was doing film studies and media studies as well as psychology, I was gearing up to go into advertising. So like I can get inside your head and sell something to you with my shiny media skills. Back then, my favourite project was something called Zin, which was based around the concept of narcotics being made legal, in the hopes that if they weren't illegal, they'd be less popular, but instead a massive industry built up around it, because that stuff sells, funnily enough. And Zin is Zaman International Narcotics, but there was also a parallel with the concept of sin, Zin, sin, and we followed Miranda Zaman, I think her name was. Melissa, if you're listening to this, you'll remember this. And she was head of PR, but she was also heavily addicted to the product. And it had a sort of... there was a series called Scandal. It was based on US politics, and it was centred on the spin artist in that series.
Right, yeah.
It came out several years later, but when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, it's very similar to Zin!
Yeah, they stole your idea, yeah.
Oh, totally.
So that was Suzie Demarco, and this is local lighting whiz kid Gideon Rainey. So Gideon does a lot of stuff at the Arts Centre and helps put on a lot of events. He's done the We Make Events, Light It in Red campaign to draw attention to the struggles of the events industry during the COVID pandemic, and we chatted with Gideon to talk about lighting and more.
So it's almost then, I guess, like, I mean, I suppose it is. It's like the same thing that a sound guy does in terms of they'll be sitting there like constantly making sure the mix is right. But it's almost like an interpretation as well, like of, you know, I guess with the sound it's a little more straightforward because you're just trying to make the mix clear or whatever, whereas with lighting you kind of have to interpret what's happening on stage, what's happening in the music, and try and keep it relevant.
Oh, actually, going back to the don't go overboard thing.
Yeah.
What you need to try to do is add to the show.
Yeah.
Not take away from it, because there is such thing as too much.
Yeah.
So if you're going strobe crazy, that's taking away from the show.
Yeah.
You need to add to the atmosphere instead of taking away. So
Unless, of course,
it's a load of patterns, a load of strobing, then that's just too much for quite a few things. So you got to just
unless I suppose there's a good reason for the strobing within the whatever's happening on stage or whatever. Yeah.
It tends to be short strobes because too much can even irritate people who don't have epilepsy.
Yeah. And I think
it irritate me as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it is just generally irritating, isn't it? But I suppose as well, like, you know, if you're keeping the use of it minimal, then it's kind of just making the shows more accessible as well. And because that'd suck as well. Like the last thing you would want is for the show to be accessible, except because of the lighting or whatever. When, as you say, it should be adding to it.
The two physical things that most lighting people hate: epilepsy, and asthma. Asthma, we use haze. Even though it doesn't affect it, people tend to think it does because it's an atmosphere in the air. And people instantly go to the assumption of, oh, it's smoke, I'm going to get an asthma attack. And epilepsy is the obvious one. Yeah,
for sure.
Alright, so that was Gideon Rainey. You're listening to The Art Show here on 106.6 FM at Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for a little bit of music. So this is The Goat with Meaning of Art.
Soft light, white walls, quick shallow words on depth and composition. The wall paint smell of an art exhibition. A young blonde lady stops at something bit unusual. A somewhat edgy, brighter colour brogo. And she looks beyond the silly shapes. She feels she can relate. Says to the artist standing by, why do you paint this way? These shapes are meant to hide what I don't want you to see. Art masks my mediocrity. He went the spoiled child I was said to be well smart. A doctor, scientist, not a son of art. But when I went to school I first got looked upon by girls, and I found out the beta male I was. I'm lucky I picked up a brush before a needle or a joint, 'cause I could paint my blues away, and that's the point. The hide what I don't want you to see. I'd mask my mediocrity. What do you think this represents? He pointed, she replied. An endless struggle searching for the light. It is one way to put it, but the title may as well say frustration after 40 failed days. You'll never fool a woman into thinking you're a caring man. It's far easier to try and make of her your fan. These shapes are meant to hide what I don't want you to see. I'd mask my mediocrity. If your art has no other reason, can you just do other stuff? I could, but frankly I can get enough. The brush, my needle and my joint, and in the time I could have become a doc or prof, I just got hooked. I'd die for a fry up for two and a shopping afternoon, a job of social use, but most of all I'd die for you. But I've replaced the side with yellow, love with red and peace with blue. How can I quit the frame of mind that gets me through? She had to go and didn't say goodbye. Oh well, there goes another one, he sighed.
That was Meaning of Art by The Galt. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain, and we've got a little bit of a highlight show this week. So this is when we chatted to Superlord. This was recently, actually. In fact, it aired last week, but it was supposed to air the week before. Again, confusing times for us all. But yeah, it was Superlord.
So there was your EP, so you finished that off this year, was well, last year, I guess, 2020, right?
Well, we got it out, yeah, just in time for the new year. I think it come out on, was it the 11th or the 16th of December, I think?
11th, yeah.
Yeah, so we managed to get it out. We squeezed it out, which is great for us. You know, it's just kind of put to bed. We know that it's done and we can move on. Well, in whatever way we can with the lockdowns and that. But so yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that leaves you now. So, and you mentioned you've been working on new songs. Is the goal to work towards like an album?
Yeah, I'll let you take this one, Mike, if you want, mate.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's because it's been such a strange year for everyone. The goal was obviously just to get the EP finished, really. But that's definitely, I think, the next step once we can, get back in the studio. But using this time again to try and bounce ideas off each other. So we sort of can stay active if even
again,
if my practice kit this doesn't really work.
Again,
we'll make it work.
The EP's been far more. I don't know about you guys. I mean, we haven't even been able to have a beer over it. I'm absolutely blown away by the reception of it.
Massively, man.
On for a scale of our size, a little band from kind of Hertfordshire, and it's been overwhelming in a way, fantastic. So it's kind of, a lot of people said in a few reviews, what we won't really see the full Superlord until we do an album. So that is definitely our driving force, I think. And I think we're all itching to get back in and to kind of work on these new ideas and hopefully get something out.
I mean, especially with this kind of being like a sort of self-produced thing. Aaron doing all the production and everything else, and it all being recorded in this tiny little practice room and sort of all on a shoestring budget. It'd be nice to kind of get a more quote unquote professional album done. Not necessarily saying but something where we've got that extra oomph behind it, that extra kind of sort of boost.
I mean, to be honest with you, mate, I joked there about, the no offense, but I mean, just to take that pressure off as well, because it is, you kind of sit and you get tired of the songs. These are our songs, they kind of grate on you after a while, you almost
need that kind of outside voice, don't you?
That's it. And just to kind of go in, it would be nice for all of us to go in and do it together. I think, you know what I mean? Just have a few beers, kick back rather than do it in bits again. But again, depending on the circumstances of COVID, but definitely.
All right, that was Superlord, and now this is one of the highlights from our chat with Isolte Avila from Signdance Collective. She's also putting on a sign workshop, an online Facebook Live event for Wickham Arts Centre, so do check that out. And let's go over to Isolte. Cool. And who are some of the core members of Signdance Collective, and what are their roles within the group?
So David Bauer is the artistic director, and most people will know him from that blockbuster film, Four Weddings and a Funeral. And he started working with Signdance Collective when he was 20 years old. So he's 51. So we've been at this for quite a long time, and he really directs the artistic vision of the company. Whereas Isolte Avila, I work on more the structuring and the engagement and the collaborative ideas. And then we have Angelina Schwaberlin, who's a composer, and she's from Graz. I'm from Cuba, by the way, and Lila's from Graz. David's British, but Lila is amazing. She's been working with us since 2006, and she composes and collaborates with other musicians for Signdance Collective, and is the music director. And then we have Rob Corcoran, who's a filmmaker. He's from Wales, and he's not just a filmmaker, but he does like the digital and the expression of the digital ideas for the company. And then we have Lionel Macaulay, who has died, but he's very much, and it's incredibly sad, but he's still in our work as a performer, as a digital performer. And he was one of the greatest collaborators that we ever worked with. And he's from Somerset, New Jersey. But one of his best friends who has joined the company recently, her name is Ashley Antonia Lopez, and she's from New York, and she's an actress and dancer and a poet and an amazing digital organizer and entrepreneur, and websites and social media output. And then we have one more person who is originally from Nigeria, Peter Osita, and he's an actor and IT specialist and singer and musician, and he lives in Sardinia in Italy. That's the core company. And then Pedro de Sena, who's Brazilian, and he lives in High Wycombe and is a dramaturg. He's our main dramaturg and has written a lot of the work with the company. So yeah,
amazing.
That's it.
Cool. All right, that was Isolte Avila, and here we have Grae J Wall, and he's a poet, and I think I got to know him through Fly on the Wall Poetry Pass through Isabel Kenyon, who has also previously been on the show as well. So Grae joined us to do a few poems, and we'll go over to him now. Grae J Hall. And just before you go, if you have you got a couple of poems you want to read?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It's always one of those. Not always, but sometimes you get that feeling like I don't know which ones to go with.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take that last minute call right now, and I will do it. Yeah. So I'm going to do this one for you first, which is a thing called The Bomb. This is one of the ones actually that I did record for the Bandcamp album earlier in the year, and it goes like this. If I don't turn on the TV, will the ugliness cease to exist? Pregnant woman stoned to death, grieving parents left bereft, 200 school children spirited away. The shrapnel shards penetrate and pervade each waking day, every day. The pontiff surveys the holy war and genuflex. If you tolerate this, then your children will shop at Next. If I had the know-how to make a single thing, a bomb it would be of love and peace and understanding, to drop within this tortured planet's heart, so when I awoke a joyous new day could start. But making such a thing would surely be too hard, and then I'm no inventor, just a lowly bard. But if you seek a hope within my words, then I can offer some. Wake up tomorrow, dearest friend, and simply be that bomb. There you go. That's the bomb. And then I'll do one more for you.
Cool.
This is I'll do this one. So this is called 1982. This will resonate more with people of a certain age, but for those not of that age, perhaps it'll give you a little inkling into something about that. So 1982, at which point I would say I was age 20. 1982 goes like this. I kind of miss those days, Paris discotheques and cigarettes, 12-inch coloured vinyl fix, just riding the crest of a brave new wave, suburban cavaliers on a mission to shock and thrill in equal measure, a belted army raincoat with a slouch hat, gentlemen's Polaroids and cool menthol, dogs on street corners slick and sly, whistling through the graveyard on a hot summer night, all doo-wop eyes and cheap perfume, a manifesto hewn from hours of poring over insert words, rebellion brewing in garden cities, graffiti on your gated walls, scaring the commuters as we fall off the milk train. Sleep by day and prowl by night. The revolution is coming in an old post office van to a town near you. Get on board, clear the way. The blank generation are here to stay.
All right, that was Grae J Wall. And next up we have Paul Cooper from the Open Isolte group. It's a lot of fun to chat to Paul. I finally met him in person over the summer as well. So looking forward to seeing more gigs with him soon. But Paul Cooper.
It must be almost hard to compare them as well, because there's such a diversity in like the musical styles in terms of instruments, and the influences that people have as well. So it's almost unfair trying to pick any one above any other, you know.
We've had that exact conversation in the admin group. You know, it's almost unfair to pick your favourite because I mean the ethic was any style, any standard. So, you know, one for all and all for one, if you will. And that's what we've seen. I mean, you know, I've even had a go myself, and after people said I could actually sing, which was a surprise to me. But because the platform is so open, and you've got the love and support of the other members, you feel easy. And we've had a lot of people say that. I've never posted online before anything that I've ever done, but because of the feel was right with Open Isolte, and you know, everyone just seemed to be rooting for you, then I have, and that's a wonderful thing.
It's funny actually, because obviously I've posted in there myself, and I agree, because and I have posted stuff in the past and tried doing like regular YouTube videos where I do music and all this stuff, and it's actually, I don't think people realise how difficult it is as a musician to get people to listen to your music. And in the Open Isolte group, you've got that kind of ready-made audience of people who not only will give you a shot, but they're actively looking to listen to music. They're actively looking to discover new artists. And as you say, that just the reception there is, I think in other places you sort of post your music and you just don't get a reaction at all. Whereas on Open Isolte, you'll always get people leaving you little comments and, you know, liking it and stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've heard. I mean, one of the other admins, Dave Wood, who posts a lot and also a fantastic artist, he said, you know, that he's been a member of countless music groups, and it's just, you're supposed to, or it feels like you're supposed to just put your song on there and say, hey, like my page, you know, and that's pretty much all you get. But yeah, it's the community thing, as you mentioned earlier on. It's we've somehow really made that at the forefront, and people have just latched onto it, and just made it a family. In a way.
So that was a highlight of our little chat with Paul Cooper, and now we're going over to Faiblesse Parfaite, who are a duo who play, like, a lot of their music is French, which is good because I'm learning French. So let's see what they had to say.
We definitely want to be on stage, and if we can play differently, different types of venues with different kind of sound, we definitely do it. We did a one-off gig. It was a pop-up gig with a band that we assembled among friends and just like that online. Couple of rehearsals. I think we the drummer first time we played with a drummer was exactly at the kickoff, because he didn't turn up for rehearsal, and he actually turned up late for the setup. So we did the sound check without him, and he went 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was it. And it went really well as a gig. So we know we can do it. We really enjoyed it. It's why not? Yeah, we might do that.
Cool. And so you mentioned you've recently had Party Girls Don't Get Hurt, the single out. What's next for you guys? Are you planning on a full album or anything like that?
There's still so many songs in the pipeline. One that's pretty much recorded, actually. Some that need recording but that we have rehearsed before, and some that are in their infancy. So yes, we would probably still release them as singles, so 1 or 2 at a time, just because it keeps things interesting, and that at the moment we just can't keep up with. All the songs having albums, it would take years in between. So, but yeah, there's so much still to come out.
Sorry, I was going to say, one thing you mentioned last time is do you have some remixes and stuff, right?
Yes, so we've had Je rentre à pied has been remixed by a producer, which is brilliant. It's great. It's a guy sort of met on SoundCloud. Yeah. We started talking, and I showed him the song, and he was like, "Oh, I love it. Can you send me the stems, and I'll remix it," and he's done that. So we've got that. I think that would be a nice treat to put out eventually. It's a band, a duo called Anate. So it's a singer, front singer, and a producer. I think they're going to have a band. Their album's coming out at the end of the month. So I kind of like, we're holding on to the remix until they've got their own time in the limelight, and then afterwards we'll probably release it when we have also something else to put with it. But the other thing about releasing, I think what we're trying to do is we are also trying to film videos that go with our music. I think we're kind of finding our way of doing really amateur videos, like no frills, but lots of fun, not pretending to do something too serious. And the ones that we have done so far, I think they work quite well, and they're quite well received, and so it's a nice little event on social media. So we'll try to put that on along with the singles.
Cool.
Alright, that was a highlight of our chat with Faiblesse Parfaite. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Play It Again by Colin Upfield.
Hello, old friend, so good to hear you again. Forgot about you, so caught up chasing the blues. I know, old friend, you feel your world means to an end, that I forgot you with these for kings and vinyl memories. But now it's time to make your mark, be a guiding light in someone's dark. And now it's time to touch them with your spark. They're singing and they're dancing, they're calling out your name, so play it again. And they're singing and they're dancing, they're calling out your name, so play it again. Don't get me wrong, I always knew you were strong. I passed you by, you never wanted to fly. Was I wrong, and was it you all along? I couldn't resist chasing ghosts in the mist. But now it's time to make your mark, be a guiding light in someone's dark. And now it's time them with your spark. No, they're singing and they're dancing, they're calling out your name, so play it again. No, they're singing and they're dancing, they're calling out your name, so play it again. Be the one to move them, take memories, improve them, become the soundtrack of their lives. Be the one to lift their hearts when their world is torn apart. Now it's time to touch them with your spark. No, they're singing and they're dancing, they're calling out your name, so play it again. No, they're singing and they're dancing, they're calling out your name, so play it again. They're calling out your name, so play it again.
It's just the flu. You hear people say it every year. But if you have a chronic lung condition like COPD, bronchitis, emphysema, or asthma, there's no just about it. Flu is a virus that can cause serious complications for you. That's why we give you the flu jab. Free. It's your very best protection. Ask your pharmacist or GP today. NHS. We're here to help you protect against flu.
We can get through this if we all pull together. Please stay at home, stay tuned to Wickham Sound for the latest information, and do get in touch with us to let us know how you're doing, if you'd like a song played, or just want us to say hello to you.
The Buckinghamshire Disability Service Buddies are here to help. Are you shielding or self-isolating and feeling lonely or stressed? Need a friendly chat with someone who understands? The Buds Buddies are here to help. Buddies are trained volunteers who will call you regularly for a chat about anything you like. Calls can be by telephone, online messaging, video, even by British Sign Language. Please leave us a message on 01494 211179 or search Buckinghamshire Disability Service online. The Buds Buddies are here to help.
In the deserts of Sudan and the gardens of Japan, from Milan to Yucatan, every woman, every man. Hit me with your rhythm stick, hit me, je t'adore, ich liebe dich. Hit me, hit me, hit me. Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me slowly, hit me quick. Hit me, hit me, hit me. In the wilds of Borneo and the vineyards of Bordeaux, Eskimo, Arapaho, move their bodies to and fro. Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me, das ist gut, say, fantastic. Hit me, hit me, hit me. Hit me with your rhythm stick. It's nice to be a lunatic. Hit me, hit me, hit me. Hit me, hit me, hit dock of Tiger Bay, on the road to Mandalay, from Bombay to Santa Fe, o'er the hills and far away. Hit me with your rhythm stick, hit me, says he boy, he says nicht, hit me, hit me with your rhythm stick, two fat persons, click, 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 hit me, 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 ow, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me.
That was Jury Service with Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, and before that we had Play It Again by Colin Upfield. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain, and we're going to head over to the Ilk Shed to pick up on this week's album review from Twangling Jack 4.
Pink Floyd Medal. Now, I probably prefer Pink Floyd before Dark Side of the Moon. I was actually a bit disappointed by Dark Side of the Moon. And of all the albums that came before Dark Side of the Moon, this was probably the most impressive. This was the one where I think they peaked. The standout, it's got two of my favourite Pink Floyd numbers on it. On one side, it starts with One of These Days, which is one of these things, they've used it in other things, where they use this bass line that goes dunka dunka dunka, and then these guitars come in, slide guitars building up, changing keys, effects, echoes, a strange voice comes in, drum fills, and it builds up to an almighty climax. On the other side, we have Echoes. Now this is a 20-minute song. It's not like one of these prog pieces divided into bits. This is one song that takes 20 minutes. And it has a long intro. The verse is long. The chorus is long. Then there's a big riff that's quite long and an instrumental section which builds up and up and up until you go back into the return of the song with the long verse, the long chorus and the big riff. And it's just amazing, I think. The other tracks on the album, there's a blues song which features a howling dog. There's a sort of jazzy type thing, which is quite impressive, I suppose, that they could do that, a jazzy type thing. There's a song called Pillow Winds, which is fairly forgettable. And there's the other great track off the album, Fearless, which features the Liverpool Cop Choir singing You'll Never Walk Alone, which ensured it got played by John Peel quite a lot. So, Medal by Pink Floyd.
Alright, thank you very much, Twangling Jack Ford. Thank you to everybody whose music I shared today and all of the guests who appeared in this highlights episode. As always, my name is Dane Cobain. That's not going to change. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7 PM. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a song from my band, The Ilk. It's actually the band that I'm in with Twangling Jack Ford, who just did the music review. And this is one of my songs. It's called Watch the Planet Die. See you next week.
Born in time to watch the planet die. It's a miracle that I'm alive and This is Wickham Sound.